Making an offer on a home is a big step. It means you've fallen in love with this home and you want to move your family into this home and you're ready to pull the trigger. Don't get overwhelmed, because today in this video, we're going to cover everything that you need to know, from crafting a winning offer to making sure it's a strong one, and to making sure that we get you through negotiations and you get that said home. So let's go ahead and jump right in. What's going on, everybody? Kyle Powers here, Haven Real Estate Group at eXp Realty, your Manhattan real estate expert. And I am here to help guide you through the process of writing that offer on your home and making sure that we get you to that winning bid. So let's go ahead and start just diving into what we have, right? First steps first is, how do we create that strong offer? Now, this is a big one, right? I think you need to understand, like, having a strong offer isn't always the highest offer, and it isn't always the most money and everything else that comes with that. It isn't always cash. It isn't always that way. Now, I will tell you, all of those things help, mind you, but sometimes I've got a perfect example. I've got some clients of mine who we had a cash offer. They had essentially the offers were the exact same. One was cash, one was a conventional financing. But what happened, they didn't go with the cash offer. That was the higher offer. They went with the conventional one. And the reason being here is because the conventional offer, they actually wrote in there, they said, okay, we won't nickel and dime you on inspections. We won't do this. We won't do this. And they had it in writing. And that felt better and meant more to my sellers at that point in time, that they ended up getting that offer. So crafting that strong offer is very important. Obviously, highest and best is usually typically is going to get you the deal. But it isn't always the be all end all. So making sure that we have our right offer price, right? One thing that I always like to write in if we're in a multiple offer scenario is writing in escalation clauses. That way we don't leave money on the table. If we're not talking on multiple offer scenarios, then I want to also make sure that it's a strong offer, but isn't giving away the farm either for you guys. As buyers, you need to be protected on what you're offering and making sure that you have that ability to go that route. And then in 5 years, when you call me up, you're able to say, hey, Kyle, we're ready to sell. And we have those fun conversations of, look at how much equity you put in the property. That's a big one, rather than overpaying and everything that comes with that. Making sure you've got your contingencies in play. You've got your inspections, your appraisals, your financing. Those are your big three right out of the gate. And we'll talk about all those in upcoming videos. But those are your big three. Even when the market was going crazy, 2021, 2020, when the market was just booming, right? I never liked getting rid of contingencies and getting rid of that unless the buyer was somebody who knew what they were doing with construction. I never liked doing that. I never wanted to do that. And I still don't recommend doing that, because you need to know what you're getting into. Now, we can always write it to where the inspections are for information only. That always helps, but it still gives you the opportunity to back out of the deal if you find something that isn't worth it, or a roof needs replaced, or an HVAC system needs replaced, or whatever that is, those major dollar items that you have the opportunity to back out. So those are big ones. But again, we'll talk deep into inspections in another video. Sometimes you can go through the contingencies, play with those a little bit. Like I said about my multiple offer scenario that I was talking about, you have that opportunity to, cash versus conventional. Typically cash is easier because they close quicker. Doesn't always happen that way. So then you just kind of weigh the options out on where that is. That's where this becomes really important, to deal with professional real estate agents. And I'm not saying this because, again, obviously I consider myself one, but I'm saying this because I have relationships with real estate agents. I have relationships with these people. I make those phone calls and I say, hey, so-and-so, I saw that you were getting ready to write an offer on your property. Here's where we're at. This is kind of what I'm thinking. What's important, right? I've been doing this for 10 years now. I have the ability to make those phone calls and talk to people and just say, hey, is closing date important? Or lack of closing costs? Or where is this at? And we can kind of structure that offer that way to really kind of help you as a buyer get you into that particular home. Now, let's assume that we're not in a multiple offer scenario for the rest of this one, because that's where this is really going to, where this video is going to go. But we have the ability to crafting that offer, crafting that opportunity for that one, and making sure that we are going through that one. So let's assume that we're not and we'll move on and we'll get on to the negotiations. For me, this is the part that I love. I love getting into this one. I had a deal that we literally, it took me a month. So if you're patient, you can sometimes get these deals, but these are real numbers. I had a deal that my wife and I just offered on an investment property. We ended up getting the house under contract for $77,000 less than the asking price. That's not a lie. Those are real numbers. Here's the kicker with it though, is that if you want to negotiate on that level, you need to take the emotion out of the equation completely and just understand that this is a business decision. And then that's when you have the ability to do those things. Do your research, understand what that is. We were able to get that one under contract because we were able to really kind of dive deep and understand the process. And really what we found on that one is that that seller was facing a foreclosure. Once we find that out, we find out that they're a little bit more motivated, lo and behold. So we were able to do that. When I bought my personal house, what we did is I offered I want to say it was $40,000 less than asking price. And they came in and they're like, nah, we're not even going to respond to that. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Here's my real offer. So I give them another offer at that point in time. Kind of went through it. And like, okay, went back and forth a little bit more. Figured out what was important to them. For them at that point in time, it was money and a little bit of timing on closing. And then I went back to them. I said, okay, cool. Here's where we're at. We come under contract. We got it for $15,000 less than asking price. And so we ultimately put it together. I went back into our inspections. We opened up negotiations again after I'd spent money on inspections. And again, I highly recommend inspections because this is why. We've found, and I promise you my house is not run down or anything that way, but we found termites, we found radon, we found the sewer line was backed up, we found all kinds of stuff. And I just went to them, I said, hey, here you go. This is everything, right? And so what happened is I said, this is all the major stuff. I'm not asking for, you to paint the chipped and peeling paint. I'm asking for you to fix these major systems. And so ultimately we were able to get $16,000 worth of work done on that house just through negotiations and just through fact finding on things. So negotiations, and if you don't have an agent who's there ready and willing to blow a deal up for you, one, I would tell you to be very careful of that agent because they're chasing that money more than they're chasing your well-being. I actually just had this conversation with a past client of mine today, and I was like, listen, man, he's like, I know I'm taking money out of your pocket. I said, no. I said, I want to blow this deal up faster than we can even talk because I want for his brother. I said, I want to make sure that they are understanding what they're getting and making sure that they're having a good experience and that they don't get into something that one goes underwater because of flood or two, the work was poorly done or whatever it may be. I want them to understand what they're getting and understand what the scope of work could be and is going to be when they get in there and start that work. So that's the big thing in negotiations is you need to have an agent who is not tied to the money. The moment that your agent is tied to the money, your negotiations go out the window. So you need to understand what that looks like for them and for you. Negotiations is my favorite part of the process because one, it just keeps me sharp and I like that. Now we've had a successful negotiation. We've got you the price you want, the terms you want, everything that you want on all that stuff. The process that happens after that. So we've got an accepted offer. We're good to go. You need to be ready to submit earnest money. It could be anywhere from $500 to $3,000. Just kind of depends on what we write in the contract. You need to be ready to start setting up inspections and going through that process. If you hire myself and my team to take care of you, we help with all of that. We will schedule everything with you, the inspector, the seller, everything. You don't even have to lift a finger. You just say, yep, well, let's go with those people. And if you're good with the people that we recommend, then we go ahead and we schedule them. And even if they're not, you tell us who you want and we will help out and get those scheduled as well. Because it is your choice. It's your money that you're spending for the inspection. So understand that you have that choice, not your agent. Then we get into the appraisal process and you don't have a choice in. I don't have a choice in it. It's through your bank. So you talk to your bank or your lender or whoever you're working with. And they will order your appraisal. They will get all that stuff going. This is all in that 30 to 45 day window of going under contract to actually closing on the house. You guys are just kind of preparing for closing and making sure that you are getting your old place packed up, getting all that stuff ready to go, getting ready to move. We also, about a week before closing, my team will send you a reminder to switch utilities over, get all that stuff done, turn off your utilities, the ones you currently have, and just kind of making sure that that transition is smooth. I will tell you, sometimes in there, that week or two, there's probably about week 3 or 4-ish, it gets a little quiet and it gets a little, I'll tell you from personal experience, it gets a little eerie, just because you're like, oh, I haven't heard from my lender, I haven't heard from my agent, I haven't heard from anybody, what's going on? It's part of the process. We're going through that one, and we'll kind of go through that. So that said, once we go inspections and all that stuff, again, we're going to talk about that in the next video. But with the inspections, this is when we can ask for new things to be taken care of and everything that comes with that. Some common questions that I get, and unfortunately some issues I've run into this year, is that can a seller back out of a property at this point in time? Fun fact, I know this all too well with our contracts locally. They can't, as long as we do our paperwork correctly on the buy side of things. And in fact, as a seller, if you do your paperwork incorrectly and do just timeline on things, you can actually be forced into buying a house and or giving up your earnest money. I've had that happen on both sides. When I had this, actually both of them, I had the seller, but I had a buyer trying to back out, and then I had one of my sellers trying to back out. So making sure you do your due diligence and making sure that your agent is doing everything they can to make sure that paperwork is filled out correctly is very, very important. It's one that I've really dove into myself, and making sure that my clients are taken care of and protected, because I've won both of those scenarios. I was able to protect my seller, got them their earnest money back, and we were able to cancel the contract. Ultimately, we kept this one together, but I was able and willing to cancel the contract. Again, that's at the end of the day, you are the owner, you are the buyer, you have your say. I want to make sure that you are protected and know what you're getting into. And that's where having that educational piece of this, of where, we submit this resolution, this is it. If they accept it, we're good to go. And we move forward with the house. Again, can the seller do it? It's rare, but there are some hoops that we may have to jump through. Rule of thumb that I always tell people is can't force anyone to buy, can't force anyone to sell. Some common challenges and how we handle them, I'll get to you at this point. So we talked a little bit about competing offers, so multiple offers and what that looks like. One of the ways that I really enjoy it, and I say enjoy, I protect my clients. I figure out, it's just like an auction at this point, right? And I like doing escalation clauses, and what that does is it protects you from overpaying for a house, exponentially overpaying. The example I give is like this. Just for easy math, let's do it this way. So let's just say that a house is listed at $100,000. Somebody else offers $105,000, but we don't know that. Somebody else offers over $100,000. We go in and we are also offering, and then you say, "Oh, I'll pay $125,000 for this house," right? Which maybe you will, and maybe we talk about it, and maybe it's worth that. But with that, now you just paid $20,000 above and beyond the next highest offer. So what I'm telling you is, with an escalation clause, we say, hey, we will pay $1,000 above and beyond the next highest offer, up to $125,000. So then if they come in at $105,000, your offer automatically goes to $106,000, all the way up to $125,000. So with that, that's what I always try to do with if we're going off of that. One way that we can do with the inspections and contingencies and stuff that way is, doing that as is, where is, but with the right to still cancel if we find something and do inspections. That's the way that's only the furthest I've ever taken it. And those are on rare occasions that the house is actually in good condition, and I'm not worried about something being, we find something that's going to be potentially an issue. And again, I work through those with you just to kind of make sure we get you protected with that. Next one is sellers refusing to make repairs. At this point, you've done your due diligence, you've run your inspections, you've run all that kind of stuff, but your seller still says, nah, I'm not going to do any repairs. Doesn't happen often, because more times than not, if you find something that's a major sticking point, that next buyer is probably going to have the same thing. Now, that said, there are sellers out there that are like, nah, I'm not fixing anything. And if I need to, I'll take it off the market. We'll fix it ourselves and we'll put it back on later. That's when we have a choice to make. And we decide like, how much is it worth to you, the house itself, and then how much is it worth to make sure that we understand what you're getting into with those things. But that's a choice. Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet for that one. So I think you need to understand what you're getting into with that. Another common one is appraisal gaps and financial concerns. This one, appraisal gaps, I'm going to use that same $100,000. Let's say that it offered up to 120, but it only appraises at 115, right? There's a $5,000 gap. At that point in time, what you have a choice to make, and that is make up the $5,000. The seller, we negotiate with the sellers to bring their price back down, or we cancel the contract. And I will tell you, 7 out of 10 times, so about 70% of the time, the sellers will change their price unless that we feel strongly enough and risky enough that we pull it, cancel the contract and go find something else. Because sometimes appraisers do get a little crazy with what they're appraising it at and things, and I've done that myself actually, to where I've canceled a contract with somebody, turned around and put it right back under contract, had a new appraisal come in at that point, and we appraised totally fine and it worked out. Doesn't happen that way all the time, but I would say 70%, 75% of the time the sellers will adjust their pricing, or we talk about appraisal gaps and what that looks like. Some frequently asked questions about the process is, how long does it take to hear back on our offer? Typically, it just depends, but I always put less than 24 hours on it. I will never put more than 24 unless the seller's agent specifically says, hey, they're elderly, or hey, Mr. Husband is overseas right now, so it's 2 a.m. their time, we need a little bit more time. What if I change my mind after we make that offer? Please don't. Please don't. Be sure that it is what you want. Be sure that it is the house that you want. Be sure that it is the location that you want. And then what I always tell people is stop looking. Delete Zillow, delete Realtor.com, delete everything, because the grass is not always greener on the other side. And what you do when you do that is you start thinking, oh, well, I could be here. Oh, I could be here. That said, I can get you out of it. I have the ability to do that as long as we're within our inspection period. We can send our cancellations and get that taken care of. Making an offer can feel like that actual commitment and make it, the stress levels just start raising, because then you start looking like, oh, I'm spending $300,000 on a house. Oh, I'm doing this much a month. Oh, I'm doing... It gets stressful, but I promise you, I will be there to guide you through every step of the way. I will make sure that you are understanding what it all looks like and understand what's happening, so that that stress level is not here and we come down with that, right? And so I want to make sure that you are okay on that one and educated throughout the whole process. That's why I'm doing these videos for you. And I want to make sure that one. So if you are ready to start making offers, or if you're ready to start the whole process and anything else that looks like that, I would love to talk with you. My personal cell phone number is 785-477-5485. My email is kyle@homesforsalemhk.com. And if you caught this video and don't understand where we're at in the process, go back to the beginning, because I've got a couple other videos there that you need to watch just to kind of get you to this process, because it's a lot. It can be a lot if you don't understand where you're coming from. And then make sure, as always, if you enjoy this content, or if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please go and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that little bell so you get notified of any future content. And then, as always, if you have somebody, go ahead and tag them in the comments below. Share this video with them. Whatever that looks like, I would love to hear from you guys on feedback and anything that else that you're interested in, or questions that you have on buying a house and what that looks like. And then, as always, thank you so much for watching these videos. Stay tuned for next week, because we will have another episode. And this next week, we will be going over inspections. And this is by far my favorite part of it, because I'm able to save you so much money and actually get so much out of the house just by this point. This is when I really get excited about my negotiations and everything else that plays with that one. So I hope you guys are enjoying this content so far. I'm sorry if I get a little long-winded sometimes, but thank you so much for watching. And I promise you, if you have any questions whatsoever about real estate, I don't care if it's buying, selling, investing, or anything real estate related, I'm here to help. Reach out, call, text, or email. I want to help you and answer any questions for you. So just reach out. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. We'll get you taken care of. Thank you so much.